Biggest noticeable driving difference, a more pronounced Pocono-like serpentine route down the backstretch. Waltrip nowhere near part of this crowd. Gant, Wallace's Pontiac also non-factors. Bodine and Labonte's 85 chassis comes back, and despite the damage, is smoking. About two-thirds in, last year's winner, Labonte, is showing a different kind of smoke, and then Elliott starts to play his hand. On the last lap, Elliott soars into number 3, but Dale holds fast and solid to win his second 20-lap pot of gold, a record 75 grand.
Winston Cup qualifying for the Daytona 500 was rained out Saturday and postponed until Monday. We get the wrap-up from Ron Kendrick.
Weather conditions at the Daytona International Speedway were somewhat less than ideal for a driver to make a record-breaking Daytona 500 qualifying run. The temperature was warm and the wind was blowing down the front straightaway. That didn't keep Bill Elliott from turning a lap of 205.039 miles per hour in his Ford Thunderbird. Not a record, but enough to grab the pole for the February 16th event.
I didn't see how I could really beat what I ran last year going through the 2 rule changes over the course of the year. You know, I was really happy that I came as close as I did, and I felt like most of the GM cars and Pontiacs and Buicks would beat me. But, you know, as it was, that I was able to run quick enough to beat them.
The outside spot on row 1 will be held down by the Chevrolet of Jeff Bodine. He turned a qualifying lap of 204.545 miles per hour.
The speed between the Union balls and the front straightaway weren't as fast as they had been, and so we knew that our speed wasn't going to be quite as good today because of that headwind.
Perhaps the surprise of the qualifying session was the performance of Sterling Marlin, who wheeled his Chevrolet around the 2.5-mile tri-oval in the 3rd fastest time of 204.355 miles per hour.
You know, I always felt if I got the equipment, I could do it, and, you know, I've got it now, so, you know, it really pleased me to go home next Sunday winning this thing.
In all, 24 cars qualified in excess of 200 miles per hour. That should make for a good Daytona 500 on Sunday. For ESPN Speedweek, I'm Ron Kendrick reporting from the Daytona International Speedway.
Tuesday, a crash involving Cale Yarborough and Bobby Hillen will force both drivers to their backup cars for Thursday's qualifying races. Also involved, but to a lesser degree in the crash, were Alan Kowicki and Kirk Bryant.
Larry Pearson, driving a Chevrolet, will be on the pole for the Grand National race this Saturday at Daytona. His speed of 191.3 was the fastest ever turned in that division, which until this year was called late model sportsman.
NASCAR has reassigned some top executives, including Les Richter, who moves to the position of Vice President for Competition and Development. Bill Gazaway will continue to serve as race director for most Winston Cup events.
When you take on the track, you're taking your tires to the limit. B.F. Goodrich started it all, testing street radials in races like this and like this. The more we race, the more we prove what a tire can do. On cars like this and like this. B.F. Goodrich TA radials, built for you to take on the road.
They say the best ones are the hard ones. These you don't break. You try to reach an agreement. When you do, you head for the mountains. Head for the beer that goes down smooth as a mountain stream. Busch. Brewed for a taste as smooth as its name. Busch. Head for Busch beer. For the mountains. Head for Busch beer.
Valentine's Day. There will be no love lost on ESPN's Friday Night Fights. Sammy the Bumblebee Fuentes, one of the nation's best lightweights, slugs it out with Marvin Garris. And Southern Rebel Chris Calvin battles Gerald Hayes. Plus, the debut of Ringside Report, live Friday on Top Rank Boxing.
For For those of you who don't think that sprint car racing on dirt is one of the most exciting in all of motorsports, just watch the next few minutes.
Well, Bob and photographer Greg Oldham were in the Tampa, Florida area last weekend with the All-Star Circuit of Champions.
Last Sunday afternoon at the half-mile dirt at the Florida State Fairgrounds, where, by the way, the State Fair is going on. This is action in the fast heat. Pennsylvanian Keith Kaufman.
Well, we're trying to get in the corner, and I got pinched down at the bottom of the racetrack and had to slide the car sideways and caught a rut and it just tipped over.
The B main isn't kind to Denny Donaldson, who flips after hitting Scott Desane. The feature has an outstanding field of sprint pilots from all over the U.S. The conclusion of lap 1, Indiana's Kelly Kinzer leads Buckeye Rusty McClure. But Steve Kinzer is on the move in number 11, and Doug Wolfgang is following. But Wolfie's race ends early with suspension problems. On the restart, watch Steve go high and move from 4th all the way to 2nd. Local Wayne Hammond is hard into the first turn wall. Nothing serious as far as injuries. When the track is green again, the Kinzers, Kelly and Steve, fight for top spot. Keith Kaufman is back in action and passing McClure for 3rd, while Bobby Davis Jr. is also on the gas. Arizonan Ron Schumann is handling traffic well and will finish 4th. Steve eventually grabs the lead from Kelly and goes on to victory.
Kelly just picked the gas up, and I got up and caught the cushion, just got a nice little run, and we got to the straightaway. There's enough room to get between him, and just dived into one and tried to beat him into number 1 corner and got it in there ahead of him. That's how it worked then.
Davis and Kaufman engage in a terrific duel, but Bobby finishes 2nd. So Steve Kinzer wins here at the Tampa Fairgrounds. Now it's off to East Bay Raceway in the southern part of Tampa for the conclusion of that sprint car series.
Bob, before the Sunday night finale, action from in the week. In Friday's C main, Brian Tobin is up and over Kenny Haynes' wheel, then slams the wall. This wreck involved Kelly Kinzer, Todd Vance, and on the far right, Robert Smith, who went through the plywood fence. Smith suffered a broken vertebrae. With Saturday night's action rained out, the series concluded Sunday. Doug Wolfgang hadn't raced here all week, but he wins his heat and the C main. Now he is ready for the B feature. At the start, Steve Kinzer has a flat tire, and while sitting helplessly is hit by Scott Desane. But Steve is repaired and goes back to the wars. Wolfgang's hopes of making the A main end here when he runs over Mike Zeider's wheel and hits the wall. Another attempt to start the B feature. That same Scott Desane is up and over, and we're not through yet. On yet another attempt, Texan Gary Wright is flipping into the lower left of your screen. When this race finally does get going, 14-year-old Jeff Gordon in 16 holds off the much more experienced Steve Kinzer, but only for a while. Steve wins it. Now the A main. Rocky Hodges won the first night, but Bobby Davis Jr. checkered the next 2 features. Fremont, Ohio's Fred Linder is pursued early by Rodney Duncan and Jack Hewitt. Then this Kinzer family reunion involved our Kelly, Steve, Sheldon, and Mark. Somebody must have forgotten to invite Randy. Steve gets a restart and then passes Fred Linder late and finishes 2nd. Davis is unstoppable, takes the race and the series championship.
Well, when it's a 50-lap race, you have to really fill the car up with fuel a lot. And we had to wait for 10 or 15 laps to get some fuel out of the car before we could really get going. We were stuck so tight, and I guess we passed Fred there, and me and Jack kind of got close down there, and then we got by Fred there and took the lead, and the car really felt real good.
Now, Doug Wolfgang has been winning, not in the Tampa area, but in Volusia County up near Daytona.
I thought he might have been missing. Many of those sprint car drivers hope to make it to Indianapolis. Bob remembers not a driver, but a well-known contributor to IndyCar racing.
Many famous drivers have competed here on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway down through the years, but sometimes we tend to forget the chief mechanics who help the drivers achieve their success. One of those chief mechanics came here in 1938. His name, Clint Brawner.
He saw Indy cars evolve from front-engine roadsters to rear-engine rockets. During that time, he became identified with a straw hat and a red bandana. Clint cites 2 biggest thrills in racing.
First was winning the Monza 500 in 1957 with Jimmy Bryan over there on the High Bank track. And then, of course, in 69 when I won the Speedway with Mario Andretti, and we built the car ourselves at home in the backyard.
That Monza winning car with Bryan was a Dean Van Line special and a team that Clint headed from 1953 to 1966.
Eddie Sachs put a Dean car on the pole at the 500 in 1961. The 69 Andretti win was Clint's only Indy victory, although Mario won the pole 2 times, once collecting a whopping $2,000. Brawner's been out of IndyCar racing for a decade, but is still busy in a somewhat cluttered shop in Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, I'm retired, really, and trying to buy up. It seems like all the Model T and all Model A Ford parts in town and engine parts, I've gone backwards. So I've got 4 antique midgets to rebuild and get back in shape, too, and stuff like that there. As is the case with all former associates with racing, he has a few complaints about today's cars and speeds. I would narrow the tires up, I'd put flat bottoms on them and slow them down. I would get rid of every wing on a car around here. It's foolishness because I think if the insurance company would tell them to slow these things down there, you'd see a lot of them less getting hurt. The Ford engine that Clint once worked on is quiet now, and the straw hats are put away. But Clint Brawner's mark on racing will not soon be forgotten.
By the way, Mario Andretti, who drove for Clint Brawner for many years, won the Daytona 500, but it was 19 years ago.
And the car that he won in that year was a Ford.
When we return, the ARCA Big Bang ends in a whimper.
Leaders almost in New Smyrna before it begins.
You know, folks, I've been chosen to represent my country around the world many times. But now I'm going to get out of line. I'm going to get direct deposit so I'll never have to stand in line with my government check. It goes right into my account every time. With direct deposit, my money is waiting for me instead of me waiting in line for it.
Get direct deposit wherever you have your checking or savings account.
Come on, sweetheart. Get out of line.
One child, one life, your chance to give.
Hello, I'm Julie Andrews, here to talk to you as a foster parent. It still amazes me that it takes so little to do so much. Less than 73 cents a day for food, schooling, and medical supplies that might even save a child's life. Please join the Foster Parents Plan family because you care.
Some travel arrangements made through Eastern Airlines, the official airline of Walt Disney World, with more flights to more of Florida. At Eastern, we earn our wings every day.
ARCA has raced at Daytona since the 60s. Then the Toledo, Ohio-based group was MARC, initials not coincidentally similar to those of its founder, the late John Markham. Kentucky's Ralph Jones sat on this year's non-record pole. Rick Rowland set that ARCA mark in '83. This race a highlights package, and it starts just 6 laps in. Then another community conflagration, which ended in comeback driver Dean Roper's blaze. He hustles out unharmed. Automotive engineer Walt Boland got off track to the infamous Turn 4. This whistle-stop tour eventually included Paul Hansen, Bill Parsons' protege Roger Blackstock, and Dave Simcoe's sister Patty and her rude big track debut. Same trouble spot, almost upside down. Rick Jeffries, he influences Red Evans. Meanwhile, the lead, changing hands every 5 laps. Bill Venturini, Champley Raymond among the pace setters. Bob Keselowski, the next Northerner Beach. By now, pole setter Jones and Grant Adcox asserted themselves up front. Turn 4. It's haunted. Talk about your lady in black. Now Dave Simcoe and his new sheet metal prove the extra calamity corner pavement keeps cars from sailing. That, the 5th caution of the day. But still one more in this 80-lap derby. The last lap, another Kentuckian, Howard the Kid Rose, hurting his 86 bodywork. While simultaneously there's even more. Scott, Minnie Moose, Stovall among a crash that sends Randy Baker to the hospital. Grant Adcox and his Winston Cup machine has led the last 13 laps. He becomes, under caution, the 15th consecutive different winner of this race.
Daytona has been one of the mainstays of the IROC series. Here's a look back at some exciting moments. Last year in the Daytona IROC event, Tom Gloy hurt his foot standing on the brake so hard in this flip in the tri-oval. The finish saw Cale Yarborough, A.J. Foyt, Tom Sneeve, and Bobby Rahal all crash, allowing Darrell Waltrip to take the checkered. Sneeve slid across the line in second. Al Unser returns to IROC this year. The last time he was at Daytona in an IROC event, he nearly ended up in Lake Lloyd.
After the stock cars leave Daytona, the bikes will move in. Yamaha will reportedly have a team consisting of former world champion Eddie Lawson, Mike Baldwin, and Jimmy Felice. Already confirmed for Daytona, current 500cc world champ Freddie Spencer. Motocrosser Danny Chandler is back in the U.S. after his crash in Paris last year that has left him paralyzed from the waist down.
New Symrna Speedway near Daytona has developed a reputation over the years of opening the late model season with wild and exotic cars.
Miller on the outside, Rogers.
They've toned down the psychedelic monsters and they look more like ASA or all pro cars now. Butch Miller almost wrecked a whole bunch of them at the start of this feature. That was Gary Ballou in the red number 112. Jay Sauter is left on top of the pit wall. They run a series of races here, and as of this writing, Miller has won 1. The others share between Ballou 2 victories, and this white 11 Waltrip lookalike steered to 2 wins by Florida's David Rogers. That trio plus Dick Trickle has even dominated the top 3 spots. Eastern Pavement Modifieds are the other main attraction. These low-slung darts have been ruled by Reggie Ruggiero, winning 4 of the 5. Jamie Tomeno, the other winner.
In our next segment, the Archer's perfect record continues.
And the off-road show moves to the Silverdome. Stay with us.
End of the road is just the beginning when you take it on with these BF Goodrich TA radials. The radial all-terrain, the mud terrain, the sport truck TA. Last year they took more major off-road races, more than any other tire. When you take on country where it's a long walk home, make sure you put on tires that can take it. BF Goodrich TA radials, built for you to take on the road.
Tuesday, soccer's most talented players get their kicks in the MISL All-Star Game. It's a total sports special on ESPN.
It'll work on your dandruff. Yeah, but I'm afraid it won't leave my hair the way I like it. Hey, this is great stuff.
Today's Head & Shoulders.
It's all I use. Okay.
Tough dandruff protection that works only on your scalp, not your hair. Gentle conditioners go there.
Tough on dandruff, right? But great on hair.
Today's Head & Shoulders. Dandruff care that's good for your hair.
Is there a future for business in space? Will the tragic loss of America's heroic Challenger crew stop business pioneers from reaching for the stars? Join us Wednesday on Nation's Business Today for Space Enterprise, a special series that will explore the vast commercial frontier of space and the challenge ahead, here on ESPN.
The frozen lakes of the Midwest North are becoming a private playground for the Archers. They won again, now 3 for 3 on this year's ice trail. This time on their home ice of Duluth Harbor, another 3-hour showroom stock test. Even their team car, racing journalists Steve Potter and Don Knowles, came in second. Their normal competition, Herm Johnson and John Menard, spent most of the race in and out of the pits and dropped out after leading. The other division, modifieds, included this opening lap squeeze play, which involved the ESPN car of Denny Popp and Billy Collins, but also featured another win for the just about invincible Kenny Sitch. Wasn't easy, though. He actually stopped once to aid fellow racer Leighton Reese, who flipped and slid 400 feet while leading. Later, Sitch also stuffed a snowbank. He won when late leader Joe Hauser slid off near the end. The weather, another sub-zero blizzard, and it almost destroyed our video.
Sure did. IndyCar driver Jacques Villeneuve has only raced on snowmobiles 3 times this year, but he's won twice. Last weekend at Valcourt, Quebec, in the Canadian National Championship, Villeneuve beat Bruce Vasseur and Alan Decker. Jacques averaged 96 miles an hour in the 15-lap race around the half-mile track, located about 50 miles southeast of Montreal. Villeneuve's earlier win this year came at the World Championships in Eagle River, Wisconsin.
The latest driver to be nominated for the American Racing Series, Mike Groff, winner of 2 Super V races last year. BBS Wheels will award $10,000 to the ARS driver completing the most laps this season. And by the way, Kevin Cogan will test an ARS car at Phoenix later this month.
Chip Ganassi will team with Jose Le Garza at Indianapolis this year on the Machinist Union team. A tentative 14-race Super V schedule has been released for 1986, 2 more races than ever before. and a tentative 12-race VW Cup schedule has been announced. Fields and purses are expected to be up this year because of the demise of the Renault Cup Series.
What has Steve Millen got over Billy Sims of the Detroit Lions? Sims has never won a truck race inside the Silverdome. New Zealand native Steve Millen is now 2 for 2 on this winter's indoor Mickey Thompson off-road Grand Prix schedule. Grand National Sport Trucks, the headline division, and Millen's BFG shod Toyota looks like the truck to beat. With experience in what we know as midgets, saloon or stock cars, single-seat open wheelers, and IMSA cars, Steve, now living in California, has one of racing's most comprehensive backgrounds. Thompson stages 8 divisions, ultra stocks, VWs, essentially dune buggies, ATVs, and Odysseys. 2 class winners, just teenagers. Several competed. And with action like this, guaranteed climate control, just maybe, Mickey is onto something for the future.
Now here's this week's trivia question. This driver won Rookie of the Year at the Indy 500 and the World 600 in the same week. Was it A, Donnie Allison, B, Bobby Allison, C, Tim Richmond, D, Leroy Yarborough, or E, Cale Yarborough? Larry will have the answer in a moment.
Quack, another word for fraud or fake. Thousands of quack medical products are advertising simple cures for problems ranging from baldness to cancer, luring you into believing they're the real thing. All are a waste of money. Many endanger your health. So before buying a questionable cure, ask your doctor or pharmacist first, because the next dead duck could be you. For a free booklet on quackery, write to Quackery, HFE 55, Rockville, Maryland, 20857.
5 o'clock. They know we quit at 5 o'clock.
Yeah?
So what do?
What happened?
They come at 5:10.
You're kidding.
No, it's second time.
Again?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Second time this week.
Unbelievable,
I brought
David.
The crew leader.
Yeah.
If you don't believe litter's a serious problem in our state, we think it's time you learn the truth. No matter how much it hurts. To learn what you can do about our litter problem, contact us today.
Punishing trails, the open road. Each road demands a different tire to take it on. And with BF Goodrich TA radials, you've got all the different tires you need to take on those roads. The most complete line of high-performance radials in the world. The BF Goodrich TA line, built for you to take on the road.
Valentine's Day. There will be no love lost on ESPN's Friday Night Fights. Sammy the Bumblebee Fuentes, one of the nation's best lightweights, slugs it out with Marvin Garris. And Southern Rebel Chris Calvin battles Gerald Hayes. Plus, the debut of Ringside Report, live Friday on Top Rank Boxing.
I'm Carl Grant.
And I'm Errol Comer.
The bittersweet story of sugar trading in the Third World.
A special report from London Monday here on ESPN.